All right. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you again so much for joining us today. My name is Eric Eversole. I'm the Environmental Land Stewardship Coordinator out here at Circle B in Polk's Nature Discovery Center. And on behalf of all of us here, I just want to welcome all of the public for coming and participating in this historic event celebrating America 250 and Polk County's 165th. And so to honor our nation, before we start our program, we would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could have everybody stand and remove their hats as we partake in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So it's my privilege to be able to introduce our speakers that will be out here today, sharing some of the history of this site, the importance of cattle in Polk County, and why we are out here doing this in the very first place. And so the first person I would like to introduce up to the stage is Tabitha Beal, Polk County's Parks and Natural Resources Director.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Circle B Bar Reserve. As America prepares to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding, and Polk County celebrates its 165th birthday, there's perhaps no better place to gather than here, where our history, our heritage, and our future are come together. I would first like to recognize our elected officials who have joined us today. From the county's Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Santiago, Commissioner Troutman, Commissioner Scott, and we are very honored to have our Representative Jennifer Kennedy from the state with us here today as well. I'd also like to recognize our leadership at the County Manager's Office. Deputy County Managers Ryan Taylor and John Bodie are also here with us. Thank you for your leadership and your continued commitment to preserving the natural and agricultural heritage that makes Polk County such an extraordinary place to live. I also want to recognize some of our incredible partners who have been with us as part of this cow camp project and throughout the history here at Circle B. The Polk County Farm Bureau, there's Carol McKenzie, and Sarah's around here somewhere as well. So thank you. The Polk County Cattlemen's Association, which is represented here today by President Ken Sherrouse. In addition to him, I want to make a special recognition to Ned Waters and Fred Waters, who have been instrumental in this cow camp process. Ned was really the brainchild behind the construction today, and you'll hear a little bit more about that in the future of this presentation. And I'd like to recognize the Southwest Florida Water Management District, Amanda Summit from their office. I'd like to recognize the staff, the volunteers that make events like this happen, but also the community who has supported Circle B for over these years. Please join me in thanking them for their dedication and partnership. President George Washington was once quoted as saying, "Agriculture is the most healthful, most youthful, youthful too. If you work in ag, you know you stay young for a very long time. And most noble employment of man. Before George Washington became our nation's first president, he was a farmer. He understood that agriculture was more than an occupation. It was the foundation of strong communities, economic prosperity, and a free nation. More than 250 years later, his words still ring true. That is exactly what today is about, and how Circle B has such an incredible story to share that. For generations, this land was a working cattle ranch. Then, through the partnership between Polk County and the Southwest Florida Water Management District, the property was preserved to protect the water resources, restore wildlife habitat, and ensure that future generations could experience one of Florida's treasured landscapes. I want to recognize two individuals whose vision helped shape what Circle B has come today. Former Parks and Natural Resources Directors, Jeff Spence, who is with us today, somewhere with a camera. There he is over there. And Miss Gay Sharp. They understood that conservation wasn't simply about acquiring land. It was about connecting people to it. That philosophy became what Circle B was all about. To create a place that bridged the gap between communities that had not been blessed with the opportunity to experience Polk County wilderness and working landscapes. A place where every child could discover nature, not from a screen or a textbook, but through firsthand experiences. So I have a short story. Before the Nature Center, before Circle B, I was invited to be a guest lecturer at Lakeland High School, just down the road for a biology class. And we were studying the life cycle of a frog. Every kid in that class could recite it perfectly. An egg, tadpole, froglet, adult frog. When I put pictures up on the screen of a small fish and a tadpole, over 50% of the class did not know which was which. And it wasn't because they hadn't studied it, it was because they had never seen one in person before. That moment stayed with me ever since. It made me realize how disconnected many young people had become with the natural world that exists just outside our neighborhoods. That realization is one of the reasons Circle B matters so much. Today, more than 150,000 youth have participated in educational programs here at Circle B. Those students have walked through wetlands, explored the forest, discovered wildlife, and yes, they have seen tadpoles in these waters. More importantly, they've learned something no classroom alone can teach. They've learned that healthy water supports healthy wetlands. That is conservation in action. So as I prepared for today, I spent a lot of time scrolling through social media, watching the excitement and the interest from the general public. The excitement was incredible. The event sold out on Eventbrite weeks ago. Families couldn't wait to be here. And then one comment caught my attention. Someone wrote, perhaps jokingly, "There are still cows in Polk County?" I smiled, but then I realized that one moment reminds us exactly why today matters. Agriculture has been the backbone of Polk County since its earliest days. Long before neighborhoods, highways, and shopping centers, ranchers and farmers were building communities, feeding families, and caring for this land. Today, agriculture remains one of Polk County's largest economic drivers, generating billions of dollars in economic activity, supporting tens of thousands of jobs, and preserving hundreds of thousands of acres of working landscape. But agriculture value cannot simply be measured in dollars. Every working ranch helps recharge our aquifer. It provides habitat and a corridor for wildlife. Every acre that remains in agriculture helps preserve the real character that makes Polk County unique. Working lands are conservation lands, and that's why today's partnership is so meaningful. Today's cattle drive is more than a celebration of our past. It's a celebration of who we are, because conserving our water and working landscapes is about more than protecting land. It is about protecting the infrastructure to sustain our future. It is also about ensuring every child has the opportunity to discover a tadpole in the wild instead of just reading about it in a textbook. It's about honoring the ranching communities and families who continue to feed and care for this land. It's about ensuring that when Polk County celebrates its 200th birthday, future generations will still gather in places like Circle B, watch cattle move across the land, hear sandhill cranes call in the marsh, and experience the same sense of wonder we celebrate today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping preserve Polk County's water, wildlife, wilderness, and working landscapes for generations to come. Enjoy the rest of the program, and happy 165th birthday to Polk County.
Thank you so much, Tabitha. I can just attest to what she said. I was somebody who's lived in Polk County all my life and didn't even understand that this green space was here till I was in college. And so the impact that this space has had on myself and the rest of the community cannot be matched in our county. It's a very special place, and it has a very special history, starting with cattle. And so to talk a little bit about the history of cattle in Polk County, we have Ken Scharouse joining us. He is the president of Polk County's Cattlemen Association. So would you guys please help me in welcoming Ken Scharouse?
Yes, good morning. I'm very honored to be here today to represent the Polk County Cattlemen Association on this special event. On behalf of the Polk County Cattlemen Association, thank you to the Polk County Board of County Commissioners and the Parks and Natural Resources Division, event organizers, and attendees for recognizing and preserving this important part of Polk County's agricultural heritage. More than 500 years ago, cattle were first introduced to what is now the continental United States, right here in Florida. That was in 1521. Because of that history, Florida holds a unique place in the story of American agriculture and ranching. When many people think of American cattle history, they think of Texas and American West. But cattle were here in Florida centuries earlier, and Florida ranching heritage helped lay the foundation for the American cattle industry. Polk County has long been the heart of Florida's cattle industry and has played an important role in that history. Early cattlemen, often called cow hunters, worked across the prairies, pine flatwoods, and wetlands that once dominated this landscape. Cow camps served as gathering places for cattlemen during those long days and weeks on the range, and remain an important reminder of Florida's ranching roots. The cattle industry helps shape Polk County economy, communities, and culture. Alongside citrus and other agricultural enterprises, ranching helped build the county we know today. Agriculture has always been more about economics. It's also been about stewardship of the land, family traditions, and way of life passed from one generation to the next. Many of Polk County ranching families have deep roots in this community, and today's cattlemen and cattlewomen continue a legacy that spans generations. While ranching practices have evolved over time, the values that built this industry, hard work, grit, and adaptability, stewardship, and commitment to the land remain as important today as they were for those early cow hunters. Polk County remains one of Florida's leading cattle-producing counties, and the cattle industry continues to contribute to our local economy, food supply, and conservation of working lands. Nearly one-half of all the Florida agricultural land is involved in cattle production. Much of natural Florida remains in the working landscape of Florida's cattle industry, where wildlife, native plant systems, population thrive on Florida's ranch lands. The brands on the table behind me here today remind us that this history is not just something we preserve, it is something we continue. Your enthusiasm and participation today are appreciated. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. We have a lot of good people in the county. Working with Parks and Natural Resources for the last 5 years, I've got to meet a lot of these ranchers, as Mr. Scharouse was talking about, and they are wonderful people who care about our land and conserving it, and I'm proud to be part of Polk County with that. They do have a rich history here, including helping create this cow camp. And so to talk a little bit about the history of cow camp itself, we're going to have Murtis Young from Polk County's History Center and Fred Waters from the he is a multi-generational cattleman here in Polk County. They're both going to talk a little bit about the construction of cow camp and how this project even came to be. So could you all help me welcome Miss Murtis Young up to the stage?
Thank you all. Yes, I do have the great privilege to serve as Polk County's Historic Preservation Manager. And this particular situation is just a reminder to me of how important it is to celebrate our history and our heritage. I'm going to mention a name of a group that y'all are going to go, who's she talking about? But it always resonates with me. The Propeller Heads did a song one time, and it's called History Repeating. And that's what my little 2-minute speech is going to be about today, history repeating. So in 2011, we had an opportunity to celebrate Polk County's history and heritage with the sesquicentennial celebration, the 150th anniversary of the county. So can anybody say, please, all you beautiful little children here, say sesquicentennial? Perfect. So we got that name down, and then we fast forward now, and we're celebrating the semi-quincentennial of the nation, the 250th anniversary. So we get to do a lot of these kinds of things. So just quickly how this came about, when we were celebrating the 150th, we decided that it would be a really great idea to tell the story of Polk County's history through the cattle culture, the cattle industry. Cattle is our story. Cattle is our beginning. So we're fortunate Circle B was here. We had existing cow pens. Those cow pens are authentic. So how did we do that? We had the great opportunity to work with the Cattlemen's Association. Mr. Ned Waters drove us up to an authentic ranch somewhere up in northeast Polk County, and we visited a real cow camp. And so we came home with images. He did the design and the drawing for the little cow camp, and then the Cattlemen's Association put together the lumber to build it, the talent, the skills, and the time to create this. So it was a great opportunity for me to work with this amazing organization to create a way, a visual for visitors to see what an actual cow camp looks like. And then we have the kiosks that tell the story of cattle and cattle's influence on Polk County. So now we're celebrating the America 250, and we have an opportunity to bring everybody together again and rededicate this amazing little exhibit. So back to my history repeating, the nice thing about it is I look around and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, we had the Cattlemen's Association here. That was great fun working with them. Mustang Sally and the Hamjos performed at the original opening, so they came back to celebrate with you again today. So that's it. That's how we started. We were celebrating the sesquicentennial 150th anniversary, and we tell the story through our cattle industry. And now I'd like to bring Ned Waters forward to talk about how that all came together and talk about and introduce you to some of those very, very wonderful people who helped us put the program together. Thank you, and say hello to Fred Waters.
Good afternoon. I'm Fred, or good morning. I'm Ned's older brother, and I'm here because he can't be. He's off getting a bikini wax. So I want to thank the cowboys and cowgirls that helped us drive the cattle this morning. These cattle were loaned to us by Mike Tomko from Dade City. His family is here. I want to thank Kevin Fussell, Justin Fussell, J.B. Wynn, Jake Wynn, Wes Fussell, Dave Tomko Jr., Dave Tomko Sr., Haley Tomko, Jacob Bryant, David Hunt, Bridget Stice, Reed Fussell, and those two little cute little dogs of Reed's are Margaret and Joe Lee. Give them a round of applause. They deserve it. Hey, just for the record, it looked good when we got here, but it didn't start off that good. So, but anyway, Murtis told you about Ned. He's the one that brainchild this whole thing. This was all done in 2011. They had a cattle drive then that Ned headed up, but this was just to rededicate this whole cow camp. He asked me to convey a few things to you. One is, as you take pictures and if you're writing stuff about what happened here today, remember this whole country was a result of farmers and ranchers and cowboys and pioneers and settlers who hacked a living out of this country. It used to be rough. Nobody knew where the fresh water was. Nobody knew where the places where they could settle until they got here and done that. Those are the true heroes, is those people that got here first. Okay, one thing about, I wanted to bring up a couple quick facts. The cow camp's got Spanish moss in it. This is a reconstruction of a cow camp that was up on the Dead River in Osceola County, off the big Kissimmee River. Jen Overstreet, it was his great granddad built that cow camp, and then we reconstructed this one to match that one. That one's since been tore down. But anyway, an interesting fact that to me was the fact that there was no, these beds, they're Spanish moss that they laid on. There was no Spanish moss on a Rough Island. That's where it's at, Rough Island. There was no Spanish moss in those oak trees at that time. That's how long ago it was. We're going to brand this cow camp 1906 because that's when that one was built. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I have. Thank you for coming. God bless you.
Well, Murtis and Fred, thank you so much for sharing that history. It's an important piece to have, and we're very grateful to have it here. Just as Tabitha was talking about, the significance of it, because it helps share that story for future generations. And so those future generations can remember and know some of the ranchers that help with this. We are going to transition into a rebranding ceremony where we are going to take some of these cattle brands from Polk County cattlemen, and they are going to brand our table here in honor of the cattle industry and the history of cow camp. And so I'm going to introduce Bridget Stice from the UF IFIS Extension, and she is going to help us in leading with the rebranding ceremony.
First, I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for being here today. It means a lot to the cattle community as well as our general public of Polk County. One of the most important parts of preserving our history is recognizing that our history doesn't end. It continues every day with all of us as we live our lives. And so today's branding ceremony gives us an opportunity to connect Polk County's ranching heritage with the ranchers and ranching families who continue that legacy today. A brand is much more than a mark placed on cattle. A brand represents a ranch, a family, a history, and a commitment to the land. For generations, brands have served as symbols of identity, responsibility, and pride within Florida's ranching community. Every brand tells a story. Together, their stories tell the story of Polk County's ranching history. This morning, we're adding one more chapter. This commemorative table will create a permanent connection between Polk County's ranching past and its present. The brands placed on this table represent the ranches and families that continue to contribute to Polk County agriculture and the conservation of our working lands. Future visitors to the cow camp will be able to see that ranching is not simply part of our history, it remains an active and important part of our community. One of the reasons Florida's ranching story continues to resonate is because it has been retold in many stories. Hopefully, all of you are familiar with the story of A Land Remembered. If you're not, I highly recommend that you go out and you download the book, A Land Remembered by Patrick D. Smith. Many of the fellows that are here today, our cowboys that are here today, were involved in the film reproduction of that book. So I think it's spring of 2027 when that mini-series will be coming out. It will be brought to a movie. So the cows that you saw today, they're part of it. I believe Kevin Fussell plays a slave trader. Little Dave Tomko Jr., he's a drover. And let's see, who was the third Reed? And David Hunt, probably one of the most important ones because he really helped put it together. He got the cows together. It's an authentic recreation of that story. They are using land here in Polk County. They're using Polk County ranchers, but ranchers and land throughout the state of Florida to recreate this film. This story is being brought to future generations through that movie, but also we have a Land Remembered, where cattle conservation and beef come together, is a school enrichment program that is being brought to students where they too can read the student edition version of it. So as that story is now reaching that audience, many of the ranchers, just as a Land Remembered reminds us that Florida's ranching heritage is worth remembering, today's branding ceremony reminds us that it is also still being lived. As each brand is added to the table today, we will be documenting it and creating a registry of participating ranches. That registry will become part of this exhibit so that future visitors can identify the brands and learn about the families and operations they represent who are continuing to ranch today. Brands have long served as symbols of identity, responsibility, and pride within the cattle industry. Today, the brands placed on this table will create a lasting record of the ranching families and operations that continue to shape Polk County agriculture. In that way, this table will not only honor our history, it will help preserve today's story for future generations. Before we begin, I'd like to ask everyone who plans to participate in the branding to please check in with Kendall and my husband, Mr. James Dice. And we want to make sure every brand is properly documented so that we can create a permanent registry to accompany the exhibit and help future visitors identify the ranches and families represented here today. Once you've checked in, assistance with heating and setting brands will be available from Mr. Waters and several members of our cattle community. I want to thank everyone who has chosen to participate today. Your willingness to share your brand helps ensure that future visitors will not only learn about Polk County's ranching history, but also recognize the families and operations that continue to carry that tradition forward. Thank you.
Roll it this way, yeah, there you go.